get a description of just exactly what happened to you up in the mountains.
Yeah, what are you? You're just a research organization?
Right. This is a private research organization with a group of scientists and laymen studying the UFO mystery.
Okay. Well, I just noticed some when I was I just wandered into this campsite and in the evening, and I just kind of noticed some kind of log shelters. I mean, they weren't big log shelters. They were just about 2 or 3 logs laid on one another, and they were just kind of made like somebody was starting to build some sort of a cabin or something, but just got a few logs put on. There were just 2 of these structures. So what I did was I built myself a little bed in there, and was just settling down to sleep. And then I kind of, this full moon came up, and I noticed some clouds. I just woke up and was out, and there were people. I knew there were people looking for me that night, and or looking for me that day. And I saw these clouds going along the sky. They were pretty. They weren't too far above my head. I mean, they weren't too. I mean, they weren't too high in the sky. But I just kind of noticed kind of a strange cloud formation go by. There may have been 1 or 2 of them, and then I kind of yelled at them, for some reason.
Yes.
Then I noticed some further up in the sky, kind of like a star. I kind of saw these. They looked like a couple of maybe look a little bit bigger than stars, but they looked like they were just a couple of them just overhead there. And then I just didn't think any more about them. I was just standing there, and then I noticed kind of over to my right ways, there would just seem to be some sort of a strange light or something, maybe something landing over there. And then in a little while, I just noticed these people kind of coming in, and they kind of look like gypsies or Indians. I mean, they looked like sort of nomadic people, and they were of all ages.
Yes.
And they just kind of they didn't talk or anything. They just they talked, but I didn't hear them. And then I just kind of was sitting there observing them, and they seemed to be making camp or something. They seemed to be putting some vehicles in these log cabin places, log places, and they just seem to come in like they've been there before, and it's just they were just kind of taking over. So I just kind of watched them, and then I talked to them, tried to talk to them about getting me out of here. And this one fellow showed me he seemed to show me some kind of a vehicle or some strange thing that looked like, I don't know whether it would get me out of there or not, but I didn't know what to do, so I just went back to where I was standing, and then there seemed to be 2 helicopters looking for me. I thought that night they seemed to be going side by side and looking for me, and so I kind of stood. I had this flashlight, and I stood out in kind of the open. This is a little plateau here. There are trees, but there was some plateau, and they seemed to be looking for me, and these people they kind of drifted out to be around me. I mean, there seemed to be of all ages, and one of them was asleep, and they just seemed to be, some of them were sleeping around me or something. I mean, they just kind of followed me out there, and then but then, just as those helicopters were about to get to me, I thought, and see me, the full moon went down, and so they just kind of discontinued their search there because the full moon had gone down.
Yes.
And so So then I was pretty discouraged, and I just went and I went over by the stream, and they kind of came with me, and this older lady, she said I should sleep in these pine boughs, so I just went and slept on these, well, I don't know what they are, balsam boughs or whatever, and then I went to sleep, and then I woke up, and there was nobody there, except I saw some horses, and they went away. I mean, they galloped away, and then I went in that campsite, and there was just nobody there at all, and I just didn't check for prints or anything, and then I heard some dog barking, and but I just, left there and went up the mountain and hoped I'd be seen that day.
Those vehicles that were they put into these log sections, what did they look like?
Oh, I'm not sure. I didn't really get a good look at them. They seem to be, kind of like, they seem to be rectangular in shape. Seemed like they could push them in kind of a log structure. Maybe they're, and they look kind of like, and they seem to be like, they weren't canoes, but they kind of seem to be pushing them in these log structures kind of like they would canoes or something like that. And they also seem to have some possible other vehicles around, but I just couldn't tell. It was kind of hazy at night, but these people, they just seem to look different, and they just they seem to, they just look like a kind of a tribe of people, and I was just I wasn't terrified of them because they look like people to me, and so I don't really know what to think about it. I don't know whether it was something of an hallucination or whether it was actually true or not. But while I was experiencing it, I thought that what I was seeing was true. What was really there.
Right. Well, did those vehicles appear to be metallic?
I think so. I would say, if I had to guess, I would say they were.
Okay. Now, that light that you saw that came down out of the sky and landed, what did that look like?
Well, I didn't really... it was kind of a penetrate. It was, kind of a light. It was, I just don't remember that much about the light itself. It looked like a fairly strong light. It was a white light, and I just didn't notice it coming down that much until it seemed to be kind of down, and I just wasn't looking that direction.
Yes. Did no verbal contact or communication?
Well, I was talking, but they and they seemed to understand what I was saying, or I thought they did, but they didn't. They seemed to talk to each other, but they didn't seem to. I didn't hear them. I didn't hear any sounds from them. They were just kind of moving around very silently.
Okay, now when they were moving about the area, could you hear them walking on the ground, snapping twigs and so forth?
Oh, not particularly, no. Just didn't have a feeling of it.
Okay. Have you had anything strange to happen since that experience?
No, I just, that was just the second night that I was lost, and then, that was Wednesday night, and then, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I was also out. Wasn't out at that particular location, but I was out there, and I didn't experience anything like that then. And since then, I haven't I haven't dreamed or dreamt or anything about it, so nothing like that has happened since then.
I noticed by the story here that you did report it to the sheriff. Did you give him a complete rundown on that?
Oh, I thought I did.
Yeah.
But I don't know how. What the sheriff thought about it. I suppose he was a bit skeptical of it.
Oh, sure. I was just wondering if you thought to ask him if they'd had any UFO reports in the area at that time.
No, I didn't think to ask him. I also, it'd be interesting to know whether there were actually two helicopters looking for me at that time.
Yes.
Wednesday night, they were by the full moonlight, whether they were going side by side, and so at least it'd be interesting to know that.
Report to State Patrol about, 3 weeks ago. Do you have my file there, or whatever it was?
Was this the triangular-shaped object?
Right.
Okay.
And the reason I'm calling, I almost forgot about it, and then I just picked up the Inquirer, and I'll be damned if his description didn't exactly match the thing that I saw.
Well, this is the one seen in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Their description is exactly, except for the color of the lights.
Okay, well, could we get the description of what you saw right from the beginning?
Okay, my girlfriend saw it too. If we were both, you want the whole story?
Yes.
Okay. We were driving up on Camino Island,
Right.
and we saw what we thought was an airplane crashing. Okay, so being logical and rational people, we stopped at kind of a crossroads type thing there, where you can take an upper road or lower road, or we could go backwards. So if the plane crashed, we'd get away from the explosion and everything.
Yes. So
we stopped there to decide what to do, where the thing was coming down at. As I was looking up at it, I was just scanning the thing. And the reason we were sure it was an airplane was because of the flashing red light and the two headlights, like landing lights. Right?
Right.
I've seen enough airplanes. I know what landing lights are, the big beams that come down and everything.
Right.
And all of a sudden it dawned on me, as I was looking up at it, I was looking at the lights, and the lights were going straight ahead. So the thing wasn't crashing at all. It was just giving, the appearance of crashing. But what it was actually doing was flying level just above the treetops.
Yes.
So I said, okay, no sweat. And about this time, it was flying very slow. About this time, I said, Karen, there's no sound to that thing. We were in our car and everything. I said, there's no sound. And then we looked up, and there wasn't any body to it. Now that's anyway, this was what I said. Now, didn't you say there wasn't any body too?
Well, it looked as if you could see kind of...
Right, it looked as if you could almost see through the middle of it. And this is how, anyway, it had that type of appearance where we knew it wasn't anything that we'd ever seen before. We knew it wasn't, no wings, and it was triangular, right? We could really see it well because it was almost right over us.
Yes.
And at that point, we decided that it wasn't anything that we wanted to have anything to do with. It literally scared the hell out of me.
Uh-huh.
And so I just stepped on the gas and got the hell out of there. Uh-huh. And then, as I was driving away, I said, God, we really should follow that thing and see what it does. And by the time we turned around, it was gone.
I see.
And so I immediately reported it. Now, if you want a full description of it, triangular with flashing red light in between the two big, I call them headlights, and the Inquirer called them searchlights, whatever, the big beams coming out of the front.
Yes.
Okay, I wouldn't swear on a stack of Bibles, but I had the impression from looking up at it that there was no body to the inside. How do you like that?
Well, in other words, you feel that the center was just completely hollow.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But now Karen at the time didn't observe that. So I'm not perfectly sure of my judgment on that,
Yes.
Okay. What have I forgotten, Karen? triangular lights all the way around it. I mean, like not like three lights. The lights were all the way around the perimeter of it.
Okay, how about the color of those lights again?
Okay, those were just regular lights.
White?
That's white lights.
White lights, okay.
They do not match what they evidently saw in North Carolina.
Yes. Were the lights continuous?
Were the lights continuous? They were, weren't they? Yeah, they were continuous.
Okay.
That's right. I mean, the only one that blinked was the red one in the middle.
Okay.
And like I said, I mean, we thought it was an aircraft to begin with until the last minute.
Uh-huh.
Pure speculation now. Something had to give the appearance of the thing crashing for us. I don't think it was flying parallel to the ground. You know what I mean? I think it was tilted.
I see.
Because to give the appearance of crashing, it would seem to be the rear lights would be slanted up, whereas the headlights would be coming straight out. Because I was sure of the headlights coming straight out, because that's when I no longer feared the plane crashing or whatever it was. You see what
Yes.
Do you have a picture in your mind of what I'm talking about? It wasn't very high at all, and it was traveling very slow. Too slow for any normal aircraft, except for, of course, a helicopter, which can hover. But a helicopter at that distance, you'd definitely hear and everything else.
Uh-huh.
And we would have seen the props. Or, we were looking for anything on the thing, but it was just a solid mass. Or at least the perimeter of the thing was. Okay, well,
do you have any visual estimates regarding how far away it was?
okay, you take your ordinary tree. Whatever. What's the height of about an ordinary cedar tree? Yeah. What are they, fir? And just the average fir tree in a forest, and double it.
I see. Okay.
All right, double or triple it, somewhere right in there.
That's still pretty low.
Yeah, very low.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Do you have any visual estimate regarding size?
Okay, size, Karen. It was bigger than the one that they saw. Yeah, they said the size of a Cadillac, and ours was bigger than that. And the one that we saw was bigger than that. It wasn't much bigger than that. I'd say about 2 car lengths in length, and maybe car length and a half in width.
Okay.
You're going to have to translate those things into feet, just roughly.
Uh-huh. Would there be any possibility of getting a drawing of this from you?
Yeah, in fact, we made one right after we saw it, if we still have it. How do you like that?
That's great.
Karen, do we still have that drawing that we made right after we saw it? Yeah. We made it up at Camino right after we saw it. I'd have to go up there and check to make sure that we still have it.
I see.
With my mother cleaning, I don't know when she got Yeah.
Okay, now, have you determined exactly what part of the island you were on at the time?
Yeah, it's Sunrise Boulevard.
Now, what side of the island is that?
Okay, that would be the inside of the island facing Warm Beach. You know where Warm Beach is on the mainland there? Do you have a map?
Warm Beach?
Yeah, it's facing Warm Beach.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have a map there?
Not right here, no, but I have checked it on a map, and I couldn't find the name of that road on the map.
Yeah, that's because they just put it in this last year.
I see, okay.
Okay, so you won't find that road there except on an absolutely completely new map.
Okay.
All right, so it's the inside of the island facing, what direction would that be facing, Karen? Facing east. Well, the road that leads up where we saw the UFO. Which way was the UFO coming?
The UFO was going northwest, or northwest.
Yeah, the UFO was heading north to northwest.
Okay.
And we were looking at it. It seemed to come right over us, and we were situated at that time right there on the west side of the island, right? Okay, right as you come onto the island, right? All right, we're on the east side of the island, okay. Right as you come on the island, there's a main road, And on any map, that road will fork. It will fork either left or right.
Right.
And we began seeing it right there at the fork.
Right at the fork, okay. That's
okay.
Fine.
And then we didn't quite stop at the fork. We took a left turn on the fork. Okay? And then there's another branch in the road, and it was right at that branch where we finally stopped to make our decision of which way to go to get away from the crashing, which we thought at that time was an airplane.
Okay.
And it was coming, like I said, it was coming right over us, heading towards, kind of like it was heading towards Whidbey Island, right?
I see, okay. About how long do you feel you observed that?
Okay, how long did we observe that? Yeah, about three minutes, I'd say, 4 minutes. But we didn't stay to watch it, remember. As soon as we saw that it was something unidentified and we didn't know what it was, we made it.
Do you notice any interference with the car at the time? Was the car radio?
No. Now, this was another reason that we didn't want to stay, because I've heard about things like this happening before, and it was a dark road and a dark night. And we just weren't prepared for any kind of unusual happening.
Yes.
And there wasn't anything that did happen. There was another car that came down the other road, and it seemed to be, from what we could observe, it wasn't having any type of interference at all. It was, it was just, there was no contact made at all.
And did you report this to any agency other than the State Patrol?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Oh, you want me to?
No, that's fine.
I had to borrow money to phone it into the State Patrol. It was long distance, so believe me, I was pretty, we were pretty shook up.
Well, I can understand that. It takes a person by surprise,
Yeah. Well, if it happened again, I'd definitely stay and observe the whole thing, because I've been wanting to see one all my life. I mean, And then it comes to the final moment, what do? I check it out. So.
Well, I've often wondered what it would happen if I saw one myself. So.
Well, I'm going to be kicking myself in the rear end now for a long time. And I write things off pretty easy. I mean, if I didn't just grab an inquirer, I probably never would have called you guys about it back. But their description, it's just, okay, it seemed to be triangular or V-shape. I could make out reddish lights on one side, okay, or green on the other. That didn't miss. There was no sound at all, same as mine. Had one big spotlight, the first guy says, and the other one says, 2 big spotlights. V-shaped with blue lights, a ball of red light in the center. There were 2 big beams like searchlights. I'm reading from the Inquirer.
Yes.
Okay. Like I said, we didn't see it take off, but we went about a mile and turned around, and when we turned around, it was gone, but it was flying so low that it could have just gone into a hill or a gully or something like that.
Now, did those beams from the object, did they appear to be directed to the ground?
No, that's what I said. That's why I knew it was not crashing. They were completely parallel with the tops of the trees. When I first came out, I thought, like I said, I thought the thing was crashing. But even until I still thought it was crashing, until I focused my eyes on the beams. I mean, that's the logical thing to do, is look at the direction of the lights. And then you can tell whether it's coming down or whether it's flying level or what direction it's flying in. So until I focused my eyes on the 2 big beams that were coming out, I was still worried about the thing crashing. In other words, it was giving that impression of coming down, but it wasn't. It was flying parallel.
In other words, these beams were almost like headlights.
That's exactly what they were.
Right.
They were like big headlights.
Right.
Or airplane landing lights.
Okay, do you think that we could get a copy of that drawing?
Yeah.
And we would also like a map, it doesn't have to be too detailed, showing your position in relation to the object and the object's movement.
All right.
And you have our address?
Did you send it when you... Did they send the address on that? Oh, I'm sure you did. You'd have a return address on the envelope.
Yes, oh yes.
Okay. So, and it might be about a week.
Oh, that's fine.
Because I have to get back up there again.
I see.
Stuff.
Now, could we have the name of the lady that was with you?
Yeah. Well, why don't you just talk to her? Hold on.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi there. You're a lucky one. I wonder if we could get your name for additional witness.
Okay, it's Karen.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, that was really strange. I occasionally pick up the Inquirer just for something extra to read, and it was on the back page. It's this week's issue,
And I took it, well, they have a drawing of it. And I took one look at that, and I said, my God, you know. And so I quick read the article and called up Ted, says, you won't believe this. So
we released a story in relation to that activity back in North Carolina. Would you like me to send you a copy of it?
Yes, would you?
Sure would.
Yeah, I would be interested in that.
Sure.
Yeah, because I thought, wow, you know, and then, well, I can't even quite remember the date we saw this, the State Patrol. I don't know if they keep... Oh, they do. Was that about the first part of June? Was that it? Do you have the record there? I can't even quite remember if it was the first part of June or July.
It's on that card that they sent me.
No, I've got it's upstairs in the office.
Yeah, because I can't quite remember when it was. But, no, this one from North Carolina, I think, was first part of the year or something.
Right, it was in April. They were having quite a siege of reports there. Very low level.
Yeah, this one was very low. Well, I'm the one, I think that when Ted was looking more at the road driving, I was looking around and I think I first spotted it and said, hey, look, there's a plane crashing. And then we both started discussing it and slowing down and so forth. So, yeah, that was something else.
Okay, can I talk to Ted again?
Okay, fine.
Thank you. Well, we sure appreciate your calling, because this is what we refer to as a classic case because of the closeness.
Right. Now, is there any chance that I can find out any more information on the stuff they saw in Carolina?
Yes, I can send you a copy of that also.
I sure appreciate it.
Yeah.
And let them know that we spotted, one in the same family anyway, down here. Because I've never seen, I read the things, too, whenever, I'm glancing through the papers or stores or anything.
Yes.
And it seems to be so much different than any of the others that have been spotted, lately. I mean, just this one. That's why I thought it was so unusual, is the fact that I had never seen any others, shaped like this. And then all of a sudden, at the similar time, reading about these people in North Carolina that saw it.
Right. Well, this triangular shape has been seen quite a bit since the North Carolina activity, and we're just wondering if we're not dealing with an entirely new race.
Oh, yeah?
Visiting the area.
Uh-huh. Well, there's no chance that it could be military or anything like that.
No, that's been discounted completely.
Uh-huh. Well, you've been following it then for quite a while, huh?
Oh, yes. 20 years.
Not this type, though, huh?
Off and on, a triangular shape will show up. It has over the years.
With the beams and the flashing lights?
Not necessarily with the beams, no.
Yeah, see, this is what was so unusual to me, and that's why I was so convinced at the beginning that it was an airplane. When you're convinced it's an airplane, it takes quite a bit to convince you that it's not. If you know what I mean.
That's when you stop on the gas.
That's right. Okay, well, I'll get those papers to you, bring them out, and I hope you can give me some more information, too.
If we do, we'll let you know.
Okay, thanks an awful lot.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. You called several days ago regarding something that you saw in the sky?
Yes.
Well, I wonder if we could impose upon you again to get a description of that object.
Well, we called the McCord radar.
Yes.
And he said, what does it look like? And we had talked about, and it looked like a comet with a tail on a roller coaster. And he said we were drinking and hung up. But this is kind of like it was, like a comet, a ball of fire with a tail. And it was zigzagging up, and it would go up in the clouds and come down just like it was playing tag with something. And this was Monday night between 9 and 9:30.
I see.
But I'm kind of on a route from the airplanes. They have their commercial flight, from McCord to SeaTac. It comes across at an angle. And I was sitting on the front porch, and there's 5 of us here. And I was sitting on the front porch talking to them, and I saw this airline plane coming towards me like a light. And I kept watching it, just nothing else to do. And all of a sudden it dropped. And I said, oh, my God, that plane's crashing. And we ran out to a big ball field by us. And we didn't see any flames. We didn't see anything. And then we saw this object jumping up in the sky and doing all kinds of kind of tricks. And it was too fast for an airplane. It wasn't a helicopter, and it wasn't anything we had ever seen before. And so I called a friend of mine, and he gave me your number. And he said, why don't you see if somebody else saw the same thing?
Okay, now you said it was doing all kinds of tricks. Would you describe those?
Well, kind of like a yo-yo, up and down
see.
and dashing and zigging, just like it was playing tag with something. It zigged here and it zagged there, and then it would go up in the clouds, and we could just see kind of a red light, and then it would drop down real fast, and it was just too fast for anything that we had ever seen.
In other words, very constant, irregular maneuvers.
Yeah, Just zigzagging and then pretty soon, we watched it for about a half an hour, and then it kind of just drifted away over to the northwest.
Yes.
So we wondered if anything else had been reported like that, or if this is what we saw, or...
Well, we didn't have anything on that particular night, but we have had several strange objects in the area in the past month.
Oh, uh-huh.
Now, what color was this?
Well, it was kind of an orange glow, and well, it's between us, we're in the east, between us and Mount Rainier at an angle like that, and from where we were, it looked like the size of a garbage can lid. You know, it was round.
Yes.
And it appeared, but it had kind of a smoky tail to it, like the vapor from a jet or something.
Uh-huh.
And it was an orangey glow, and then it had twinkle lights on it, like twinkle Christmas trees or stars or something, that kind of sparks flashed out of it.
I see. What color was that?
Barbie, what color were those sparks? Yellow, kind of white, just sparks like stars twinkling, kind of.
Well, in your opinion, was this object under intelligent control?
Yes, it definitely was controlled.
I see. And you hear any sound at all?
No, I think we were too far away to hear.
Could you give me an estimate of the distance?
Well, how far do you think, Barbie? Like I say, we're on 42nd, East 42nd Street, and we're at a direct angle to Mount Rainier, and I just say halfway between, whichever. I don't even know how far it is to Mount Rainier.
Uh-huh.
About 50 miles maybe, but half of that, maybe 25 miles away.
In other words, it was a good distance.
Yeah, that's why I say it. From that distance, it appeared the size of a garbage can lid. It was round, and but it kept kind of getting closer, but it was just definitely being maneuvered somehow.
Now, I assume that this was operating under a cloud cover?
Well, below the clouds. He was darting around, and then he'd go up. Would go up and stay there for a couple minutes and then drop down and start his dashing again.
Now, you say it would go up. Do you mean it went into the clouds?
Yeah,
and then it came back out again? I see, okay.
It's just like it was playing tag with something.
Okay.
But it was on the airline route when I first saw it, because it looked just like the headlight on an airplane coming towards me. And then it just dropped, just down, and the vapor came up behind, you know, like the jet vapor. And I said, my God, that airplane just is going to crash.
Now, you say it dropped. Did it come down perfectly vertical?
Very straight, just dropped.
Just like a rock?
Yeah, just dropped. And we all looked, and then we didn't see any explosion, no fire, no nothing, so we ran out to this field and so we could get a closer look to it. Nothing. Then all of a sudden this object appears.
I see.
But it was definitely on the regular airline route, and that's why we called McCord, and he said we'd been drinking. But there was 5 of us that had seen it.
That's very strange that they would give an answer like that. I thought those days were over forever.
I did too, because I'm a firm believer in UFOs, but I had seen one, I think it was about 67. I lived by the reservoir, and I had gotten up in the middle of the night, and here's this big orange object hovering over the reservoir, and I thought, gee, that's a heck of a time for the sun. Just like sometimes the sun comes up, that big orange, nothing, just that big orange. I thought, gee, that's a heck of a time for the sun to come up, and I looked at the clock, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning. And I watched it for a long time, and then it just kind of skipped away and went over to the Puyallup Valley area.
Yes.
So this is actually the second time I have seen this round object.
Now, this was on the night of the 25th?
Yeah, that was Monday night.
Right,
Between 9 and 9:30, and we watched it for about a half an hour. In the meantime, I kept trying to call other people to see if they could see it, but where we're situated, the trees kind of hid it. So.
Now, what angle were you looking at, or what angle was the object from you in the sky, approximately?
It was coming southeast at us, because from where we're situated, McCord and SeaTac goes at an angle over across the valley.
Yes.
So that would be, southeast kind of.
Right.
And but it was following that line, and then I'm looking right straight south at it. So then when we went over to the field, it went more east, but then it still would be southeast from here.
Right, okay. And how many other witnesses were there?
Well, 2 adults and 5 children. 7 of us saw it. And the kids are 10, 11, and 12. The area that I'm at, probably, cause it's around Mount Rainier, because of the books I've been reading and things, they seem to kind of focus on Mount Rainier. And the area that we're at, I see a lot of things.
appreciate your call, and I hope we hear from you in the future if you see anything else.
Okay, fine, and thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
Bye. Seattle?
Mm-hmm.
What are the chances of getting a description of the object you saw over the ocean on the 30th?
Oh, I'll give you a good description of it.
Okay, fine.
We were tacking west, tuna fishing, and it appeared right over my port pole. It was just like a tripod, you know, that you had a telescope on it.
Yes.
And from being around airplanes and stuff like that, I would say that the thickness of it at the forward end would be about 20 feet, and it was about 3 times that long.
I see.
And there was no wings or tail or wheels or nothing else on it. It was just, a lot of guys say they look like a saucer, but they really don't. They've got a leading end to them.
Would this in any way resemble a cigar?
No. It was cylindrical in shape, only
I
it
see.
was thicker on the forward end. And that's the end that it took off from. Like that would be the end that they were running it from.
I see.
It wasn't truly a saucer as you would think of a saucer.
Yes.
It looked, kind of, if you laid a long raindrop on its side, you know.
Oh, you're talking about an oval shape then.
Well, it would be oval, but it was longer than it was high, and it was, it had a kind of a, in the direction that it took off to, that end of the body or object was thicker than the other part.
I see. That would be the bow of it then, more or less.
It would be the bow
right.
of it, yeah.
Right.
We watched it stay motionless for a good 3 or 4 minutes before it took off. And another boat that was coming out that morning too, they observed it too. And it was a charter boat, and about half of the crew, there was about 10 people on the boat that saw it at the same time.
I see.
Then I asked the next day, I called him because I knew he was out, and I asked him if he was looking in the west about that time in the morning, and he said, yeah. He says, I'm not nuts. He says, I know what you're talking about. So we went ahead and discussed it for a minute or two on the air there, and I asked him, and he told me how many people had seen it. You know, they watched it, and it just took off like a shot. And then another tuna boat came back on the air and said that he had observed it too, and he was about 10 miles below us.
I see.
I talked, when I came in, I was out for 3 days, and when I came in, a couple other tuna boat skippers came and talked to me, and they said that they had observed it. And from all the plottings that I could take in Loran bearings, we had people looking at it from about a 10-mile semicircle.
I see.
And nobody could see any tails or head or wings or anything on it.
No protrusions at all.
No protrusions at all, no.
I see.
It was just an oval-shaped, longer than it was tall.
Yes. How about the color?
It was just a silver color. No, it didn't have any flashing lights or anything like that on it. You know, you hear these guys say, oh, there's
Right.
flashing lights and all that. No. It just looked like you took the body of a big plane and pulled all the wings of it off, you know, and snubbed her down a little bit on the tail surfaces and shortened her up.
Now, when this took off, did it take off in a horizontal flight path, or did it move upward?
It moved off a little bit to horizontal, and then it just shot right straight up in the air.
Perfect vertical climb?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But how long would you say it took to leave your sight?
Well, I turned around and landed a tuna fish, and to throw a tuna fish in with a short line takes about, not more than a minute. And we all looked back, and that bugger was gone.
Okay.
It just disappeared. Now, Frank, he watched it the full time, and he watched its full takeoff, and he said that thing just shoop and was gone. He said it didn't leave any vapor trail around, and I just saw it start to go when I turned around and grabbed the line to throw a tuna aboard.
Do you have any estimate of how far away it was from you?
Well, I would miles from us.
I see. And that was in the western sky?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, when you first spotted this, did you just happen to look up into the sky, or did this thing appear to just suddenly appear to you?
Oh, I just looked up across the pole to see if anything was bouncing, and there it was sitting right above the pole.
Okay.
Now, I talked to one of these tuna skippers told me that last year they were out there, and they didn't say anything about it. There was 3 of them appeared. And while they were there, they had no radio communication.
I see.
And it was about this same time last year, and there was 3 of them. And everybody out there thought their dang radios went haywire, and was cussing and snorting, and pretty soon everybody's radio started working when they took off.
Well, this is very common.
And I noticed that I got this questionnaire from the other center to answer, and I noticed in there that they had electrical interference.
Right. Right. This is quite common, especially with vehicles.
Uh-huh.
What is the name of your boat?
Irene B.
Irene B.
Mm-hmm.
About what time was that object seen?
About 7:45.
And how about the weather?
Oh, beautiful.
Blue sky.
Yeah, beautiful blue sky. There was no overcast or nothing. It was just a fantastic morning as far as weather is concerned.
Anyone think of taking a picture?
Well, we didn't have a camera aboard.
Oh, be darned.
So I don't know whether any of the other boats took a picture or not. I could have Frank check with the other boats and see if any of the skippers did take a picture of it.
That would be great.
He's out tuna fishing now, but when he comes back in, I'll check with him and see if he'll ask the boys out there. I'm too far away to reach them by there on low range on their radios. And
Yes.
Unless you're out there, well, you can't pick them up.
Well, Paul, do you work that area year-round?
Oh, no, I'm just out there in the fall tuna fishing, summer and fall.
I
tuna
see.
fishing.
Uh-huh. If we send you a questionnaire, will you fill ours in also?
Sure, be happy
Okay.
to.
And we'd appreciate the names of as many witnesses or the other skippers that we could get also.
Okay, my wife said she gave you a Walt address.
Yes.
And he was in the cabin there doing some washing dishes. And Franklin on the TP3, contact him. He would have a list of the people that was on board that day.
Fine.
And there'll probably be at least 10 witnesses there. And I'm going to have to scratch my head and see if I can remember which boats was which now that came and talked to me about it.
Uh-huh.
But the funny part of it is nobody will say anything about the damn things, and if somebody does say it, well, then they'll all come forward.
That's right. It just takes one to trigger the whole thing.
The rest of them, they're going to keep their mouth shut. They think you're nuts,
All right. That condition is beginning to change, so. What is your address?
To Westport, Washington. While you're talking about this, when I went to the police station here in Westport to find out where I could report it or do something about it, the deputy here saw one just a short time before that, and they didn't make a reporting of it.
The same day?
No.
Earlier.
Earlier before
I
that,
see.
as I understand it, talking to the police chief down here, that one of the deputies had seen one in the morning. And they just didn't do anything about it. Make any report.
That's really too bad because it's these kind of reports that are really important in our investigation and research program.
Well, when I went and asked them, they says, yeah, we got something around here someplace, and they had to look the whole damn office over to find out where to make their calls and contact.
Uh-huh.
And I thought that was pretty lousy because I know you're supposed to report this stuff.
Yes, because I can remember sending them brochures. We sent them to all the law enforcement agencies.
Yeah. Well, they finally found it.
Oh, that's great. Well, we sure appreciate your giving us your time and describing this and just how you saw this object.
Well, okay. Let me ask you a few questions first.
Okay,
now,
shoot.
Your organization, is this a private organization?
Very definitely, yes.
Okay. Where do you get your information from? And as far as my name, phone number, and so on.
Okay, we've originally picked the story up from a newspaper article in the Aberdeen Daily World.
Okay.
And we contacted the Westport Police Department, and we got the name of the and telephone number of Paul Savage and also Frank Anderson.
All right.
And I believe the lady at the police department gave us the name of your brother, and he in turn gave us your name and telephone number.
No, that's very true. No, I was just curious.
Uh-huh.
It's an honest question.
Sure. Let's get the testimony of as many witnesses as possible on this particular incident.
No, this is fine. It's very sketchy. I can tell you what I observed, and
Yes.
I don't have any strong feelings one way or the other. I feel it's possible. You understand me? So, and like I say, it was probably about around 8-ish in the morning, I believe. I don't know what the rest of them told you, but that's my recollection. And now, what do you need to know?
Okay, what we want to know is we want to get a complete description of how you saw the object, and also important here is we're trying to find out how many people actually saw the object leave.
Well, this is something that none of us on Paul's boat saw, and I'm sure it's been explained to you by both Paul and my brother Walt. Now, my other brother, he was in the cabin, he didn't see this.
Uh-huh.
Paul brought this to my attention. We were just mulling around, trolling, and he looked up, or he says, "What's that up there?" And I said, "Hell, I don't know." But whatever it was dead still.
Uh-huh.
And this is a clear blue sky, believe it or not, because it was a beautiful day, and it was bright in appearance, but it didn't move.
Yes.
And he says, "It sure as hell isn't playing." And this is I agree. And I suppose, and I'm guessing here again too, we might have looked at it for a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes. And my brother Walt come over, and he might have been looking at it for about 30 seconds. And at that time, we got a fish on.
I see.
So everybody diverted their attention to this. And there again, I would say the elapsed time would probably be 2 minutes at the most. I don't know if you ever tuned fish or not.
No, I haven't.
But anyway, you hand line them in.
Right.
And maybe I'm minimizing that a little bit. It might have been 2-3 minutes. But after we got it on board, looked back around, and it was gone. Now, as far as leaving goes, I didn't see it, and I'm sure Paul didn't see it, and or Walt. As far as, but it was impossible, and to our line of thinking, that anything could disappear that quick.
Right. Okay, now how would you describe the shape of this thing?
Well, I would say, you know what a pollywog looks like?
Yes.
Like that.
I see. Okay. It was tapered that much towards the end?
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
In proportion.
Yes. What was the color?
Color, it was not bright, not, well, it's hard to explain it. I'd say dim sunlight.
Uh-huh.
And maybe having a shadow around it, just a dimmer shadow around it, or a haze, if I can put it that way.
Yes.
That was my impression.
Would you say that the object was metallic, just from as you observed it?
No, I couldn't say that.
Uh-huh. You didn't see any sun flashes off of it then?
No, there was no flash. It was just, no, I couldn't say that.
Okay. And you figured it was you observed it from 1 to 2 minutes at least?
Yes, and I'm guessing there.
Yes.
Because your mind is on other things, and it's something that, you're not even thinking about.
Right.
You follow me?
Yes.
And you don't really realize, or you're not functioning properly as far as observing. You see something. Yeah, it's there. Right?
Right.
But the thing that got me, when we turned around, it was gone. And you're talking about a clear day, and no obstruction whatsoever as far as haze or fog or anything. I think Paul made the comment, there's no way in hell a plane or anything else to get out of sight that quick.
Yes.
That you wouldn't see it on the horizon.
Right.
And I agree.
Okay.
And what was your name?
Bob Gribble.
Bob Gribble?
Gribble, yes. Gribble.
Okay. Can I ask you a question, Bob?
Sure.
How much information do you get over a period of time, say, in a 2 or 3 month period, along these lines?
Well, this year it's been very busy, especially for the Pacific Northwest. We've had quiet years when we get practically nothing. Now, I think right now we're averaging about, I'd say probably 20.
Daughter and son-in-law were coming up the east side of Snoqualmie Pass, and as near as I'm sure it was about 9:20. It was between 9 and 9:30, and it was not raining. It was dry, and I was laying in the front seat against the window and looking straight ahead. And as we were coming up the hill, I kept noticing this cloud would flash kind of like a neon light. And the first thought was it was lightning behind the cloud, you know. And I got looking, the sky was all clear with stars in it, and I raised up and I told Ted, I said, what the heck is that? I said, is it, storm up there? And he says, did you notice it? And I said, yeah, and the kids in the back says, my gosh, we're getting into a thunderstorm, it isn't even raining. And so we kept looking at it, and I looked all around, the sky's clear, and Ted says, well, it's just one big cloud like that. So as we were approaching, I can't estimate, it must have been maybe 3 miles to the top of the pass. As we came along the highway, and we noticed the cars were slowing down, but nobody stopped. Of course, we slowed down, and over to the right, there was a clearing in the area, and I would say probably about 2 or 3 blocks off of the highway. You could see just straight land, and it dropped down like kind of a gully down below, which you couldn't see the bottom of, but the land was straight, and it dropped. And in this area was this huge light, like you couldn't see an actual light. This was just reflection, like it was just millions of neon lights in it.
Yes.
And it was going kind of off and on, like a heartbeat. And as it did this, we could see where this was shooting up into the sky and making this cloud do this. And we kind of slowed down, and we all, wondered what in the world. My daughter, who is always says that she's seen saucer and everything, she says, my God, Mom, she's a flying saucer. And I said, the highway's probably doing some work, and they lit this up. And Ted says, well, I wonder why the flash. And he says, it's the weirdest thing he ever seen. And it was foggy in some areas, and there was just a light fog hanging in there that made it look like, I guess kind of a misty-looking thing. But it was just something I had never seen before, and it's been bugging me, and I told Ted, I said, well, we should call or stop in North Bend. So we followed the traffic, and there wasn't one car ahead of us that stopped in North Bend. Everybody just kept right on going through. Well, I was going to call yesterday, and I didn't know who to call, so when I come to work this morning, I was telling the people, you're going to think I'm nuts, but I told them what we'd seen. And this one gal, she says, well, start calling around and tell somebody, just find out what it is, because it's really been bothering me. But I've never seen anything like this. You couldn't see no actual anything except the reflection or the lighting, the glow.
Yes.
And it would go off and on. So I called the Bellevue State Patrol, the Seattle Times told me, because they do the I-5 freeway.
Yes.
To see if there was any construction. So she got on the line, and she said there was no construction of any type going on up there where they were using any lights. So I can't figure out what in the world this strange-looking thing was.
Oh.
And I was wondering, did you get any other calls?
Not from that area, no.
Well, it was really weird.
Okay, now, can you give us any estimate as the exact location that you were involved there?
Well, it was the east side. It seemed like we were just about to the top of the pass, probably about 2 miles from the top, and it was on the right side of the highway, on my side.
I see.
We were coming towards Seattle, and we weren't... we would pass... I first noticed the cloud shortly after Lake Ketchum, on the left side, that big lake.
Right.
Okay, as we was coming around up in there, you kind of get a straight highway, and this is when we noticed this cloud business, this one cloud, and then we drove, I don't know, I couldn't even tell you. It didn't seem too far, and then this clearing was there. And then this big, round, huge glow of light that was going off and on. It wasn't a fast off and on. It was just like a regular neon light. And it reminded me of the reflections of neon lighting, very, very bright. And then, of course, we went on by, and then I turned around. We kept watching in the back window, and you could still see it doing it. And then as we was driving in closer to Seattle, we had... I don't know how far we'd gone, and in the hill. I kept looking at everything. Then I noticed this real bright green type shiny light, and it kind of made a big glare, and then it disappeared, and then it kind of, in the trees, this was in the trees, you could see this type thing again, and so Ted said, well, it's probably a beacon for an airplane, but I usually thought they were red. I don't know, but this is an extremely bright, clear green, and then the same type of a glow. And I seen that, and I'm like, God, what in the world's happening around here? Because we travel that path all the time, and never have I seen anything like that. And I'm not cracking up, but I am quite concerned because I can't believe what I've seen.
Okay, do you have the approximate location for that green object?
Oh, golly, no, I'd have to ask my husband.
Uh-huh.
But it was in a more dense wooded area, quite close to the highway.
Yes.
Like coming into North Bend, I think.
Okay, now getting back to this first object, you say that it was in a gully?
Yeah.
Was this a very deep gully or fairly shallow?
Well, I would say that it was, I couldn't tell because what I'm trying to say is the land was level.
Yes.
And then you could see the horizon of it kind of drop down. And how far it dropped down, I don't know, but you couldn't see. My daughter said she's seen something extremely bright in it, but I didn't. All I seen was the reflection of the glowing light.
Okay, would you say that this was sitting on the ground?
Yeah.
Okay. And was it dark when you came through there?
Black, yeah. It was about 9:30.
Is there any possibility you would recognize that again if you went through?
I think so.
Okay. And this was just all light. Now, what was the color of the light?
The same color as the reflection of a neon light in the night with, well, it was definite white, but yet kind of this glowy, it was very glowy.
Fluorescent type?
Yeah,
I
right.
see, okay. And it pulsated very similar to a heartbeat?
Right.
Okay, were there any other colored lights involved?
No.
Okay, all white then.
Yeah, and then it was foggy in the area. Now, whether this was fog or what, I don't know, just kind of hanging over it. It was the eeriest looking thing. This is what upset me so bad. And it looked like vapors, or yet it looked like it could have been a light fog or something. That's about the best I can explain it.
Okay, do you have any idea, just a visual estimate of how far away the object was?
I would say probably a mile to 2 miles in, if that far, a mile in. Okay. Not even a mile, maybe. Steve and my husband they're better at distance and stuff than I am.
Yes.
And he was telling me yesterday, he said, did you call anybody on that? And I said, no, I don't know where to start. I said, they're going to think we're nuts. And he says, nuts, hell. He says, I can't believe it. My daughter didn't sleep all night long. She's been upset ever since she's seen it. Because it's, I don't know, it's just something you just are breathtaking when you see because it's so strange.
Yes.
And it's the honest to God truth. I'm no nut or kook or anything else. I'm here. I work at a hospital, and it's just been driving me nuts. And one of the lab techs says, you call in and find out, or you're not going to rest till you do. And I said, they just tell me they're construction that I would be satisfied. But there's nobody that would have an area that big with construction lights. I mean, in that type of a glow.
Well, we've been getting a lot of UFO reports in this area in the last week.
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe it now. After seeing that, there's no way I was against them. But after seeing that, I'm a firm believer now because I just know that wasn't right.
Well, what you have described is it fits the pattern, so it's really no different. This pulsating light, especially, this is what is known as an electromagnetic energy field, which surrounds the vehicle itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it lights up just like a light bulb or a fluorescent tube.
Yeah, and this one cloud, the cloud kept pulsating. And in the center of the cloud, it was a more predominant kind of well, I wouldn't say it was orange, dirty yellow or something in the center, and it just lit the whole entire cloud. This is why we thought it was lightning at first, but after seeing this, and you could see the not vapors, but the lighting was just like, when they open a new building, they have these big lights outside.
Right.
And this is how this is what was affecting the cloud.
I see.
If you would like, I could have my son-in-law or husband call in. They could give you more detail on the distance and stuff like, that, because I'm no big judge of distance. It's just, if that would help you any.
Yes, could I have your son-in-law's name?
Steve.
And that happened at about 9:20 p.m. when that was...
Yeah, because we got into Seattle we got home about 10:30, and I was trying to look at my watch. I told Ted, I said, I want to see what time it is, and I couldn't see my watch, and he looked at his, and he said it looks to be around 9:20.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So it's just really weird. I feel better after talking to you that I haven't flipped my lid or anything, because that's that's the way it is. I mean, it's the honest to God truth.
And that was Monday night?
Sunday.
Sunday night. That would be the night of the 31st.
Right.
They're the ones that gave you our number?
Yeah.
I see, okay. And you figure that was about 2 miles from the summit on the east side?
Yeah, well, Steve and Ted could tell you that more. I would assume, because I was so engrossed and so excited about that, and then after seeing this other thing that I couldn't, we weren't to the top of the pass yet, I know that.
Yes.
And I think I would recognize the area again because you're driving along and it's very woods, and all of a sudden there's this big opening, the trees are cleared out, and then you can see quite a ways into the, back in there.
Right.
And then you hit a bunch of trees again you can't see.
Okay.
But it's not my imagination, I'll tell you.
Well, a lot of people are seeing a lot of things.
Yeah, I can believe it. I before kind of laughed at it, but after the four of us slowed down the car and looked at them, and when my daughter started getting excited, we weren't cracking up, that's for sure.
Also coming back from east of the mountains.
Well, great.
And I thought I'd just give you a buzz.
Okay, could you give us a description of what you did see?
Well, it was just about a mile or a half a mile before you got to the summit. And what it was like is someone was arc welding at night with a super big arc welder. And that's what it was, illuminating the clouds. And that's about what it looked like. It was white in color. And it was flickering on and off. And finally, just before we got to the summit, there's a large gap. And it was a real super bright light, real bright. And it lit up the whole area, but it was still flickering. It wasn't a steady light. And that's about basically what it was.
Okay, what was the color of this light as you saw it?
It was white.
Straight white.
Yeah,
okay.
It was white, but it was illuminating a large area. And I just forgot it, when I passed by it. I just figured someone was working down in there or whatever. And when Ted was talking about it this morning, I said, hey, I saw the same thing. And,
no, you said it was illuminating a large area. Are you speaking the ground area?
Okay. It was kind of hard to say. It was illuminating the clouds. The clouds were low.
I see.
And by what I mean by large is a large area of clouds.
Right.
As far as ground space, I don't know.
Okay. And did you stop, or did you just proceed on?
No, I just proceeded on by. But you could see it for a good, I'd say a good half a mile, 3/4 of a mile.
I see.
And it was almost right on top of the summit there. And like I said, I just forgot about it till Ted was talking about it this morning. But I don't know.
And you figured the time about what on that?
9:30, 9:30, 9:45.
Okay. Okay, do you have any visual estimates of how far away that was, or how far it was off the highway?
On the highway, I'd say a good half a mile.
Half a mile, okay.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
Okay, now would you say that the object or the light itself was on the ground?
Yeah, because it was. I wouldn't say on the ground, but it was going up into the clouds.
It was going up into the clouds.
Right. So it would have to be from the ground up, but I don't know how close to the ground it was.
I see. Okay. Could you compare that with anything for size?
For size? God, no, not really.
Okay, just holding any small article at arm's length. About how big would it be? Like a coin or a...
Oh, you mean the space of the light?
Right,
oh,
right.
God, no. I would say maybe half a football field.
A half a football field, okay.
Yeah, that was illuminating up the clouds. It wasn't a very small light. It was a large area.
Yeah, okay. And time of observation?
9:30, 9:45.
Yeah, okay. Well, this is great. We're trying to get enough data so we can get up there. You figured about 1.5 miles from the summit?
Either, 1.5 miles.
1.5 mile, okay. Let's see if we can get somebody up there and take a look at that area. Well, we sure appreciate your calling, Larry.
Okay.
And if you see anything in the future, let us know. And if we get any real good information on this, why, if we happen to get a crew up there and find anything, we'll let you know.
Yeah, fine, thank you.
Thanks again. This is the UFO Reporting Center in Seattle. I wonder if we could get a description of what you saw.
Well, I didn't really get the good shot because I was on the other side of the car. My wife saw it. She said it would. I just saw the lights, you know, because it was so foggy up there just before you started going up the pass. And, you know, you couldn't help but miss it, you know, all the lights being on. It was just like a radiation flow or something, you know. It was just up and down, but it was so foggy you could just see it in the clouds up there. It was really bright, you know, and we were just driving through, and I wasn't seeing anything of it. And I said, oh, they must be working on the roads or some construction, you know, because it was so bright.
Yes.
And, you know, my wife, they have a Monte Carlo, and she was looking through the little window there, and then she goes, no, look, it's white, it's white. And I'm going, oh, yeah, sure, you know. She goes, no, look at it, you know, but finally we kept on looking behind us, and it kept on keep on going and going and going, you know. And so we couldn't figure out what it was, but, you know, I thought it was construction, but on Sunday night we weren't sure.
Yes.
But it was really bright, you know, and you couldn't help but miss it if you're on the freeway.
Now, how far would you say, just a visual estimate, was the object?
About a half a mile.
I see. And it was all light, white light?
Yeah, it just reflected, you know, just like fog was coming in, and it just shone right straight up in the air. And when we went by, you could just look right through the trees and see it, just bright and shiny. There it was, all lights. And it was, it was kind of different, you know. So that's what she said she was going to call somebody and find out.
Well, was there any indication that the source of this light was on the ground?
Yeah, you could see right through the trees, you know, what trees there was. Because I remember when I was driving, when we drove by, I can't say maybe it was a half a mile, maybe a mile, or maybe even less, to that first hotel, or I don't know what sure it is on the left side road as you're going up to the pass.
Yes.
That's about how far it was away, because it was on the right side. And when I just turned around from looking at it, and then there was that lodge or whatever it was on the left-hand side.
That would be the first lodge heading west.
Right. It was. It's the old Swiss-looking hotel. I'm not sure what it was. It was all lit up too. You know, all the lights were on.
Yes.
But it's about I just, you know, got done looking at it, and I turned around, and I remember looking right at that. And so it must have been about a mile away from that, and then about a half mile in.
Well, then the object was giving off enough light so that you could see that it was
anybody
in
drove
the trees.
Anybody drove by, they couldn't miss it. Couldn't help them seeing it.
I see.
Because they just, you know, the whole sky was lit up from it. It was, it was bright. You couldn't miss it.
Could you give any estimate on the size of that? Yeah, comparing it with something.
Well, that's it. You know, that's the only thing I could think of at the time of being so bright would be a skylight, but it was even bigger than that, I would think. Of course, then it was so damp and foggy, or cloudy. I guess I should say foggy is more cloudy. And you could see it right in the clouds. The clouds were down low, and the light was right into it. And it was bigger than a skylight, because that's the first intention I had was that, you know, they must be exploding or something and have a great big light on what they were doing so they didn't make any mistakes. It's the only thing I could think of. I said, well, it must be a gigantic skylight, but it was straight up in the air and it wouldn't be doing it any good.
Yes. Well, in other words, the light which appeared to originate on the ground was shining as a solid beam up into the sky, or was it just a reflection in the sky?
No, it looked, well, could be. I mean, it was there. When you look in the clouds, there it was. But
yes.
You could look through the trees, and it was all white, just like a bright light was on. And it was kind of, you know, like a radiation. It was just, you know, there. I really didn't pay that much, you know. I was staring at it, you know, and stuff, but I wasn't really thinking of what it could have been, you know. I was just going, oh, yeah, look at that, you know, because you couldn't help from missing it. Anybody who was on the freeway had to see it.
Yes. It didn't reflect light into the vehicle, did it?
No.
It wasn't that bright, okay. And was this a steady light?
Yeah. As far as I remember, it was steady. Yeah, up in the sky. I paid more attention to the air, and Carly, my wife, and Alice were looking into the trees, and I was just staring up there trying to figure out what the hell it could be.
Yes.
And, you know, then we kind of disappeared, the light on the ground, because, you know, I was looking up in the sky, and Alice said she was really paying attention, and she goes, oh, I can't see it. And she said, turn around and look, and you can see it right through the bushes again. You know, the trees. She goes, see it? See it? And I turn around, and I go, oh, yeah, there it is, you know.
Right.
And then after that, we lost sight of it again. But it was definitely on the ground, because you could see, she started pointing to me again to look behind me. In the car, you could see it again sitting down there.
Okay, I think that we'll just send a crew up there tomorrow and look around and see if we can find anything.
Okay.
I thank you very much for talking to us, Steve.
You bet.
Okay, bye.
Yes, who are you with, may I ask?
The UFO Reporting Center in Seattle.
Is that the one located at Boeing Field?
No, that would be the FAA Center in Boeing Field. This is a private organization. We've been in service in this part of the country for 20 years.
Well, I have a listing here of several phone numbers that were given to me, and I just wondered if you were the people that...
We are also known as Phenomena Research.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the name that was given to me. I think I've got your phone number down here somewhere.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's correct. The strange part about it is that this particular object was on the ground when I first saw it.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't in the air. There's a street intersection in Tacoma here. The one of them is an arterial, and one of them is a side street that goes off, and it's a dead end, and it happened to be more in the shadows of the main street that I was on. And as I approached that intersection, I just happened to glance to the left, and here on the ground appeared to be what I thought was a lantern burning. It didn't have a big light. It didn't have a bright light. Just more like a lantern that somebody had left burning there. About the time I saw it, I called it to my wife's attention, and just about that time it started to rise off the ground. And the glow from it, as near as I could describe it, the glow from it showed a frame-like affair. I could distinguish what looked like a thin pole, 4 thin poles in a sort of a box-like contraption that would resemble a box kite in a vertical position, but it had no covering over it.
Yes.
In other words, it appeared to be transparent, but I could detect the shadows of something that looked like 4 poles, maybe the size of my a thumb or something like that, about an inch in diameter, if they were round, I don't know. When I first saw it, I would say about 60 feet from it. I paced it off about 20, 25 paces, approximately 55, 60 feet from it on the ground. And it was probably about 6 feet high at the most, between 5 and 6 feet high at the most. That is the frame-like affair. And I would judge about 2 or 2.5 feet in diameter, although I didn't know whether it was round or square because I couldn't detect any covering on it.
Yes.
Well, the minute I saw it, and I called it to my wife's attention, it began to rise off the ground. And since it was to our left, I rolled maybe 20 feet more and put on the brakes, pulled over to the side. My wife went out one door and I went out the other. And it was rising, of course, and it was rising right over our heads. In other words, it drifted over our heads going in a southerly direction. And it passed over, just about over our car, I would say, no more than 30 feet over the car, and I was able to look right up underneath it. And the glow that I saw on the ground resembled a lantern. Actually, in the air, resembled 2 crossbars, equal distance crossbars, which were glowing about the color of bright amber caution light at night.
Yes.
And this thing, there again, I estimated to be 2 to 3 feet in either diameter or square, but since I couldn't see no frame around it, no shape of it, I couldn't tell whether it was round or square. There was no covering around it. And it rose in a vertical position, but it went off on a tangent towards the southwest. And it rose about the speed of a gas balloon that you let go at the fairgrounds.
Yes.
And it goes up into the sky. That's about the speed at which it rose. Well, shortly after I stopped, another car stopped behind me, a young fellow from Fort Lewis, Army man. And he asked me, "What's that?" I said, "Darn if I know what it is." And then a minute or two later, a couple of young kids came running up from a couple blocks away. He pointed in the direction where they came from, and they said that they had seen it close to their place, and it had gone over some houses and disappeared from view from their view, and over some trees, and they couldn't see it anymore. They were running in the direction it had gone. And evidently it had gone in the direction to where I saw it, and then it come down onto the ground again. And then it took off when I saw it. But all of us watched it go, and well, maybe watched it for 3 or 4 minutes, and then I got to the notion all of a sudden I should get to a phone and call up McCord Air Force Base, because it was drifting off in their direction, and southwest from where we were. And I figured that maybe they could pick it up on radar, or maybe send a plane out. Well, I live about 1.5 miles from the location that I saw it, and everything was dark around there because it was 12:30 at night. And I told the wife, get in the car, let's go, because everything was dark and I didn't want to pound on somebody's door in the middle of the night and ask them to use the phone, because they probably wouldn't anyway.
Right.
So we drove home quite hastily, and on the way home, I looked back. Actually, I made a right-hand turn and was going down away from it. When I looked back, I could still distinguish it in the sky, and it was glowing with the same intensity that it did when it passed over my head. There was no fire, no heat, no sparks. I'd say there was heat. I don't know. I didn't get that close to it, but there was no sparks. There was no fire insofar as a flame-like affair. There was no smoke. There was no motion, excepting that rising on a tangent. And I got to the phone, and of course I had trouble getting through to the right party at McCord. And after I got through to what I thought was the right party, he said, "Well, I'll call Alert and tell them about it." And he didn't even seem interested in taking my name or phone number, although I gave it to him. And that was that. I went back to the location where I had seen it take off the ground. Shortly after that, I took a bright light with me, and I shone the headlights on the spot where it had been setting, but I couldn't see a thing on the ground that indicated anything like a burn or a smoke area or anything.
Yes.
Actually, it was in the middle of a street that was a dead-end street, but not very well used, and it was about, like I say, about 60 feet from the left side of the right side of the arterial that I was traveling on. The next day, I tried to contact McCord and see if I could get some information from them on what they had seen or done, but I couldn't even get through to the same party that I had talked to. Of course, I was calling in the daytime, and this had happened late at night. Maybe the same crews were on, different crews were on at that time, but I don't know. I called the Tribune to see if there had been other reportings of similar to mine, and they said that a man had reported seeing something in the far-off distance about 10:30 that night that he couldn't figure out what it was, and sort of a bright light, but that's all the Tribune knew about it.
I see.
They didn't, well, then the next day, a reporter called me and asked me all kinds of questions about it, and any number of questions, and what it looked like, and so forth. About the same way you're doing now. He didn't, of course, you're not asking questions. I'm telling you what I know.
Yes.
But he asked me all kinds of questions as though he was really interested and so forth. But I think they just dropped it, figuring it was just another one of those things. But this is something that I very definitely saw and very definitely experienced, and I'm puzzled at what it is, and I'm not staying awake at night trying to figure it out, but at the same time, it's quite a puzzle.
Okay, was that dead-end street inspected during the daylight hours?
I did, yes. I went back during the daytime.
And nothing was found?
Nothing. Nothing was found or seen, and there was absolutely nothing to indicate that this particular object had been there the night before.
Are there quite a few homes there?
Well, there's homes in that area, but there's sort of a small brushy area between the homes and the area itself.
I see. What street was that?
Well, the street that I was on was South 56th Street, between Pacific Avenue and McKinley Avenue. 56th Street runs east and west.
Uh-huh.
Are you familiar with Tacoma?
Slightly, yes.
Pacific Avenue runs almost north and south, and McKinley Avenue that we live on runs almost north and south.
Uh-huh.
56th Street is an arterial between those two, and it was at 56th and B Street B Street is a dead-end street on the left going east. On the right, it is not B Street at all because there's a jog in it there. There's a big church on the left.
I see.
But it passed over our car, and it passed over the church, went off in a southerly direction. This was at 12:30 at night that it happened, and I saw it. And it was a rather clear night. I could see a long distance.
About how long did you observe the object?
Oh, I say we watched it for 3, 4, 5 minutes.
Uh-huh. And did you by any chance get the names of the other people who had stopped or the youngsters that came up to the scene?
I wished I had it. I did not.
Okay.
That's something if it probably never will in my lifetime ever happen again, but if it ever does, boy, I'm sure we'll get names. My wife and I are the only ones that can corroborate it.
But these two boys, or this group of boys, stated that the object had...
Just two boys.
That it had apparently landed where you had first seen it then.
Yeah. Well, the two boys came running, and they said they pointed off in that direction. We lived down there. We saw it down there, and we couldn't tell what it was. They came running in the direction that they saw it go. So obviously it hovered over or passed over the houses rather low, and then it went down again onto B Street where I saw it.
Okay. And that was about 10 p.m. when you first sighted it?
No, it was 12:30.
12:30.
Yeah, this other fellow that told the Tribune that he had seen something, he said he saw it around 10:30 that night.
10:30.
Now, whether he saw the same thing or not, I don't know, because he didn't see it close. He saw it far away in the sky.
Right. And did you get the name of our organization from a source in Tacoma?
Well, it so happened that the next day after, well, this was at 12:30 at night, and about 4 in the afternoon that same day, this is 12:30 in the morning, I should say.
Yes.
A.M. About 4 o'clock that same day, I called McCord to see if I could get any information, and they couldn't give me no information at all. And they suggested that I call the Washington State Civil Defense in Olympia. Now, why, I don't know, but they did. So I called Washington State Civil Defense in Olympia. Some girl answered the phone down there, and she says, no, she says, we don't handle anything like that anymore. And I don't know if they ever did, but she says, I can give you the phone number of some people to call, and she mentioned your group, Phenomenal Research.
Uh-huh.
With that number, she gave me that number, P.O. Box 1807, I think. And she also gave me the name and number of Washington State Center for UFO Studies for Renton, and Washington State Aeronautics Boeing Field, Seattle. I didn't call either one of these because I thought that maybe the reporter would do something about it. You see, when he was calling us the following day, he asked, of course, all kinds of questions, and I told him who I had called and the names that I had gotten from the Washington Civil Defense, and one of them was yours. He said he was going to follow it up, but I don't think he ever did. You never got a call from him, did you?
No.
Yeah. Well, that is the situation as it stood, and I just left it that way. It's a peculiar situation as far as I'm concerned, because up until now I was neither a believer nor a disbeliever. I just figured that maybe it's so and maybe it isn't so. You know, you just don't dwell on the subject, and even today I don't dwell on it because whatever it is, it is. I saw it, and that's all there is to it. I don't have the answer to the mystery, and I'm not, as I said, I'm not the type to lay awake at night trying to solve a mystery that isn't solvable as far as I'm concerned.
True. Okay.
It's been a puzzle, and I can assure you we weren't drinking.
Well, we sure appreciate...
the question everybody's been asking me every time we talk about it, what'd you have to drink?
Oh, yes. Well, that's common. We sure appreciate your talking to us, and if we get any additional information on this, we'll let you know.
Well, I would be very much interested in additional information. What is your name?
Bob Gribble, Gribble.
Yeah, I think That's the name I got from, where did I get that name? Wait a minute, let me look through it. I had that name written down here someplace. Phenomenal Research, Robert Gribble. That's right. That's the name that was given to me by this office in Olympia.
Fine.
So evidently they know you people.
Very good.
They know about you.
That's great. Well, I thank you again, sir.
Okay.
All right. Good night.
It happened about 5 minutes ago. The radio announced it, and they said they didn't know if any more were around, and I sighted another one.
Okay. Where are you located?
Magnolia on Seattle, Washington.
Okay. Would you give us a description of what you saw?
It's sort of a triangle shape with a bright light in the front, 2 white lights on 2 wings, and then 1 red light in the middle.
What time did you see this?
What time is it now, do you know?
9:49.
About 9:30.
Okay. How long was it in view?
Well, it was going faster than the one I first saw that the radio announced. This one had just 2 red lights and then 1 white light, and this one was, what was the question again?
How long was it in view?
5 seconds, maybe.
Were you outdoors when you saw this?
Yes, I first saw it, and then I ran out to see a better view of it.
How far away from you would you say it was?
Well, it's about as high as an airplane would be going to SeaTac from Magnolia.
Okay. It's heading north to south? Okay. No sound.
The first one had sort of an airplane sound, but the second one I didn't really hear. They passed each other.
Okay. And this just moved out of sight?
Yeah, it went over the Puget Sound.
I see. Okay.
Like it was landing or crashing or something. It was going down when I saw it last.
I see. In other words, it just dropped out of sight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here I see it again. It's coming from the Puget Sound area over. This is the slow one going up the triangle with just 2 white lights and the red light in the middle. Looking out my window, I can see it coming over this Puget Sound area.
Heading south to north?
We'll see. Yeah.
Okay.
Toward Ballard, yeah. He's not going as fast as the red one was. The red one usually goes under him or above him or right beside him. I can't spot the red one right now.
Are you watching these through binoculars by any chance?
No.
Okay.
But when we got a clear look when it went overhead, it was a triangle shape, this one. And the other one, I think, is the same shape. I'm not quite sure about that one.
Okay. Well, we sure appreciate your call. And where did you get our number?
I called the operator, and she told me to decide with the police, and they gave me your number.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Bye now.
Well, there's myself and at least 20, 25 other people.
These were all members of the cutter?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're all in the fantail. I don't know how many other people saw it, but it's just people around there. And I looked up over Queen Anne, and there was a plane, one of the large jetliners, not the jumbo jet, but the next to it, and 727, yeah. I was making a slight turn to the right, really slight. It was like it was going to take a long time to make this arc. Anyway, I just noticed that all of a sudden it seemed like it was there, was a shiny object near the tail, and I pointed it out to everybody. And they looked at it and said, well, maybe it's a refueling plane. And I said, no, because refueling planes are turbo prop jobs. And this other thing really had no dimension that I could see, except it was shiny. It was very, very small in comparison to the plane. And anyway, it followed the tail of this plane for a long time, like about 2-3 minutes. And then it traveled underneath the belly of the plane, and it flew up to the cockpit on the right side near the nose. And it stayed there for another 45 seconds or so. And then it flew off into the clouds, and that was it. Well, there weren't any clouds, just flew off.
Just disappeared from sight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, there was no clouds that day. It was the sun was behind us, and there's no problem with visibility.
And you were in Elliott Bay or in the Sound?
We were, do you know where Pier 91 is?
Yes.
Pier 9, okay, we were just pulling in between the two buildings.
Oh, okay. And you were right on, almost on the main line there.
Mm-hmm. And it was really easy to see, and I asked her, what do you think it is? And this is, well, I kept saying it was probably a trainer or something like this, a small plane. I said, planes don't do that. And it was funny, but of all the 25 guys that were there, no one seemed to want to admit that it could be a UFO or flying saucer.
But everyone there saw it?
Yeah.
Now, the object itself, how did it appear to you?
That's really hard to say because the sun was reflecting off of it.
Oh, I see.
The same was reflecting off the plane. Only the plane was big enough to where you had an outline of it. I couldn't see if it was northwest orient or anything because I couldn't see the tail. It was all reflecting light.
That was a 747?
Yeah,
okay.
Or 727, excuse me.
727, okay.
Yeah, and the little thing next to it had to be metallic because it was shining just the same as this plane was.
Did it have any definite shape that you could see?
No, I wish I could have. We didn't have binoculars. We've got super powerful binoculars on the boat, and I thought of running up there, but we were at mooring stations and I couldn't do that.
Yes.
So.
Could we get your name?
Okay, it's David. That's a question. Okay, I was watching or listening to OK 102.5 this morning, and I called up and mentioned this, and the guy said he wanted me to report this thing.
Yes.
But was that you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Anyway, you mentioned that the film that the astronauts had taken on the moon showed UFOs or UAOs taking off from the surface of the moon.
Right.
How come Japan got it and they, the rest of the world knows about, but they don't tell the American people?
That's a question we're trying to find out. We've sent letters to NASA trying to get a copy of this strip in as much as they got it over there, but we haven't heard a thing from them.
Have you got some time to talk?
Sure.
A little bit? Okay. The last 5 years, since 1970, I've been sailing around quite a bit, and before I came close to sighting any UAOs, I was not a skeptical. I believed there was, other life on other planets. There just had to be. We can't be the only one. And but I'd never seen anything, and I never disbelieved it. I never believed it. But of all the times I've sailed around out in the ocean, I've only once seen what could be a UAO. And I was wondering, how come they aren't that common out? They're more, you'd think they'd be out where no one would see them, more or less.
More common at sea, you mean? Or everywhere?
Yeah, well, out in the wide blue ocean where there's no inhabitants, they'd be free to come and go, and I haven't seen them. And I really looked.
I don't know. That's a real good question because my son was in the Navy for 4 years and spent, probably 3 years of that at sea, and he didn't see anything either.
Yeah.
And I would assume that they just don't find, or that their purpose for being down at low altitude obviously has nothing to do with any business over the large bodies of water.
Huh. Yeah, because the one I saw was over the Bering Sea. Well, it was way up, seemed to be up in the stars. But this thing took a 90-degree angle and went up towards Orion. That's the only thing I'd ever seen that was strange, but then there's no definite shape to it either. It's so far away.
About 10 o'clock in the evening.
I see. Okay, now, would you care to give us a complete description of everything that happened right from the beginning?
Oh, all right. We were coming home, and we noticed this real bright light. And at first we thought, well, maybe it was either a helicopter or an airplane. And then we kept watching it and realized that it was too low for, an airplane or a helicopter.
Yes.
And then pretty quick it would shoot off right out in front of us and go to VTEC. And then it would slow down as if it was, really waiting on us to catch up to it. And then it would light up on us, and we could see the base of it. We could see the shape of it, that it was round.
Yes.
And it looked like it had 2 antennas sticking out from each side of it. And it followed us all the way, about 11 miles until we got home. And then when we came in the house, we woke our folks up. and it kind of landed, well, didn't land, but I mean it was in midair right up above the folks' house here. And they saw it too. But
okay. How close did that come to the house? Do you have any idea?
oh, Lord, I don't know, really. About a half a block,
I see.
up in the air.
Uh-huh. Okay, now when you were, when you first spotted this, did the object just swoop down out of the sky?
Yeah, it looked like it just had come from nowhere.
And did it pull down in front of you or to the right or left?
Well, it was to the left of me. I was driving, and it was to my left.
Did it stay to the left at all
Yeah,
times?
all the time it was to my left.
And it followed you at home in that position all the time?
Right.
Okay. And did this object change color at any time in its flight?
Yeah, it was blue. And then it would it would be a real bright color, like a yellow.
Uh-huh.
And then it would turn back into a blue color.
And did these changes in color seem to correlate in any way with the change of speed?
Yeah, right. When it would go faster, it was brighter.
I see, okay.
And then when it would slow down, it was, a little duller color. And like I said, it seemed like, like you would dim your lights on a car, but they were dimming their lights, but only the bottom of it would light up to a blue color.
Okay, now you said you could see the bottom. Was there any indication that what you were looking at was a metallic object?
Oh, no,
You couldn't see it that well?
No,
Okay, did the light around the object happen to light up the area around, say, the roadway or the...
Well, it lit up right in the air there. It seemed like the sky brightened up some.
I see. Okay. And did you by any chance hear any sound?
No sound.
Okay. And about what altitude was this object as it followed you? Did it maintain about the same altitude?
Well, yeah, really, I guess it did, because all the way in it was about the same altitude, but like I said, it would take off into a higher speed, and it would come right back down into what altitude it about followed us all the way.
Uh-huh. In other words, it was kind of playing tag with you all the way.
Yeah, right, that's what we figured.
Uh-huh.
It scared us, though.
It scared you both pretty bad?
Yeah, right.
Okay, have you had any ill effects from this?
No,
Okay. About how long did you watch it? That was about a 10-mile trip, you said?
Yeah, right. So about 30 minutes.
About 30 minutes, okay. And you say that you thought you could see what would be two antennae?
Yeah, sticking on, on each side of it.
Okay. And that was all the appendages you could see?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Were you playing your car radio at the time?
No, because the radio in the car doesn't work, but we were playing our tape deck.
Oh, did you have any interference on that?
There was some static, but we figured it might be the power lines that we were following.
Oh, I see. Well, there were big power lines in the area?
Yeah.
Well, are these the high transmission lines?
No,
Well, this is just the standard voltage
Yeah,
for rural
right.
areas? Okay. And did that object appear to follow those lines?
No, it didn't. It stayed mostly by the hill areas. In fact, one time we thought it was going to run into a hill.
I see. Okay. Did it make any close passes at you during this period?
It didn't come real close to us. No, like I said, we were on the highway, and it was off to the left of us on the hills. It stayed mostly right in the hill areas.
Okay. Now, when this object was hovering over the house, how long did it remain there?
Well, we don't really know. I know when we got home, it was about 11:15 when we got home. And we stayed up until midnight and watched it, and it hovered around the area until then, and then it took off. So about an hour.
Okay. Now, when you say it took off, which direction did it go in?
Well, it took off to the west of us.
Okay. Did that move at a pretty good clip?
Yeah, because we couldn't see it anymore.
Okay. Have you seen anything in the area or heard of anything being seen since?
No, we sure haven't.
Do you know if there were any other witnesses to this?
Just other than my parents.
I see. Okay. How old are you, Pat?
I'm 26.
26. And how old was Betty?
17.
17. If we fill or send you a questionnaire, would you consider filling it out for us?
I sure will.
Okay. How
didn't know what to believe, what it was.
Uh-huh.
And that's the only thing we could come up with was a UFO.
Had you believed in those before?
No.
I see.
I sure didn't.
Well, you might be interested in knowing that with our research, we found that about 99% of the people who have these close encounter experiences are diehard non-believers.
Oh, is that right? I believe it.
Would you believe that you were, or did you ever have the feeling that you were selected for that experience?
No, I sure didn't.
Okay. At any time while that object was pacing you, did it crisscross the highway?
Yeah, right, it did. It sure did. It went right over the, front of us, and then it went right back toward our left.
I see. Okay. Well, we sure appreciate your calling us, and if we need additional information, could we get back to you?
You betcha.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You received a report on the UFO over Tacoma?
Tacoma?
Yeah.
Okay, do you have any party's name?
No. Me? Received a report on this yet?
No, we haven't.
You're kidding.
No. What kind of an object is it?
Oh, there's a bright light up there. According to radar out of McCord, it's an unidentified object, 18 miles straight up.
Oh, they have admitted this?
Well, it came out over the air, and now they're not admitting anything.
Oh, first they do and then they don't.
Yeah, but you can see it. I just got to look at it with binoculars.
Is this light fairly stationary?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. Do you have quite a few calls on this?
Yeah, we've had quite a few, yeah.
Okay, we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
See if we can't determine what it is.
Can I get back to you later?
What's your number? We can call you back. Okay, we'll let you know if we find out what it is.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling, sir.
Yeah.
Bye.
The airport, westbound. Yeah, it looked like it was moderate speed. I would guess probably 500 knots. And then it disappeared at about 10 miles east, and I would assume probably because it was in our cone of, or blind spot over the antenna. I called the en route traffic control center at Auburn, asked them if they could see anything on there, heading aircraft overflying high altitude Air Force types, and they said no, none that they were aware of. And the McCord controller confirmed that they were still watching, but it came to a stop over Seattle. And of course then, and so anyway, we couldn't see it on our radar anymore, so we got looking out the window and everything, and that's when this object was sighted.
I see.
Coincident with, with this object that we saw moving.
Yeah, I know. We got a call from Pierce County Sheriff about 3 o'clock, and they said that they had heard on the air that McCord was tracking something about 18 miles up.
Uh-huh.
And then they immediately put a retraction in on that.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, we sent out spotters right away, and all they could see visually was the planet Jupiter, which is like a huge light bulb up there.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, we've got a pilot out looking for it now. This flight that comes in from eastern Washington, Air Courier, said that he saw what looked like a light coming out of the bottom of the thing that was going on and off intermittent rate. And now whether he is looking at the same thing we're looking at, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Then there was speculation that there might be some sort of a balloon in the area on this ozone data research or whatever it is.
Oh, I see.
But, yeah, obviously what we're looking at, what we've seen here is the planet Jupiter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
And you might be interested in also knowing that Venus will be showing just before dawn in the eastern sky.
Uh-huh.
Extremely brilliant. So you're going to have Venus and Jupiter out there both at the same time before dawn.
Okay. Well, real good. Yeah, it's interesting anyway. It's kept us busy and awake.
Oh, we sure appreciate your call.
All righty.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Are y'all located there at Boynefield?
Pardon?
Are y'all located near Boynefield?
We're just about 5 miles east of Boynefield.
Is this part of the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, or is that what it is?
It's Phenomena Research.
Wow. So, I guess there's been nothing definite then heard, right?
Well, what the this bright light, which is nearly overhead, is the planet Jupiter.
Is it? Oh.
But I understand other things have been seen also.
Well, I heard also that they sent a plane up, and it was right underneath it, and I don't know if the pilot, said anything definite on what it is or anything. I'm just checking it out, because we're from base ops at McCord, and we're just wondering.
Yeah, there's been a lot of calls.
Yes, we've had quite a few, so we thought we'd check with you also.
Uh-huh. Well, if anything new shows, well, let us know.
Oh, well, we're trying to find out what the heck's going on, just for our own curiosity.
In regard, have you had a lot of calls from citizens on the outside?
No, we haven't had any calls personally. We just heard something from Boeing Field.
Uh-huh.
That's the only thing we've heard.
Well, we've had a few from, quite a few actually from the Puget Sound area, and then about a half a dozen from the outlying areas. But I think what they are describing, at least just by the information that they're giving us, they are observing this bright light, which is almost directly overhead. But there could be others too, but most of these are describing stationary objects.
I was once told that Washington's supposed to have been the state with the most sightings in the United States. Is that true or just rumor?
No, it is not true. No, we've kept track of these things on maps for 20 years. And
Arizona's pretty heavy, in New Mexico.
They have had periods where they've had very heavy activity down there. But it seems to fluctuate. The only state that really can count on coming up with a lot of reports every year is Pennsylvania.
Huh. Wonder why.
I don't know.
I guess if you knew, you'd know what was going on, right?
I guess so.
Well, thank you very much, and if we hear anything, we'll give you a buzz.
Yeah, where were you calling again from?
From McCord.
McCord. Okay, well, feel free to call anytime.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
There was no noise, and it wasn't that high up, and it was going from east to west instead of to or from SeaTac.
I see. And it looked like it had two headlights?
Yeah. At first I thought they might be landing lights and stuff, but when I went over, it looked kind of had a funny shape. I couldn't quite make out the shape.
Kind of triangular oval like.
My wife said it was kind of a triangle. It didn't quite go to a point, but she said it was kind of reminded her of a rounded off triangle.
Oh, I see. About what time did this happen?
About 5 minutes ago.
That'd be about 7:45.
Yeah, and it was going east to west, and about 75th and Aurora is where we spotted it. And some other people looked too, but I don't know if they'll, call or not.
Uh-huh. Were you in the car at the time?
No, we were coming out of the store, and my wife looked up and saw something, and she goes, "Wow, what the heck's that?" And it seemed kind of funny because I didn't hear any airplane motors, and I didn't hear any jet exhaust.
Uh-huh.
It was kind of freaky.
Now, about just how long were you watching it?
We watched it for about 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, and then when it kind of got out of vision from, the top of the building, blocked it off, we walked out into the parking lot and looked, and it was gone.
Uh-huh. Was this thing carrying any colored lights other than the two bright ones?
There was a blue, no, not a blue, but a red.
And ones that went underneath was kind of like they were pale opaque.
My wife said the ones underneath kind of looked like they were pale oblique, or kind of a pale blue.
Uh-huh.
Almost white. It was pale, and it had 4 red lights.
And it had 4 red lights.
4 red lights, okay.
Am I nuts, or does that sound like something else you've had before?
No, it's, you say it's triangular shaped, or?
My wife said she saw lights going all the way around it. I couldn't make it out quite that clear myself. I was kind of a little stunned. The red lights were moving around?
Airplane red lights.
Oh, yeah, airplane red lights kind of flash around, don't they? These weren't.
No, the
These
strobe.
were just steady.
The strobe light flashes, but the
These
colored
weren't even
lights.
flashing at all. They were just steady red.
Steady red all the way around.
No, there's how many? 4? My wife said she thinks there was 4 red ones, and there was a bunch of them going around the bottom of it, kind of in the shape of the craft, that were kind of a light blue, almost white.
Okay, and what do you figure the shape was again?
Kind of a rounded triangular shape.
Okay.
Okay.
with the corners rounded. And it looked to be about 3/4 of a mile up, maybe a mile up, something like that.
Kind of noisy out there. Could you hear any sound?
Oh, there wasn't. There was a stoplight up there, and there wasn't any cars going by at the time.
I see.
That's why, because I really listened.
Uh-huh. Okay, can I have your name, sir?
Sure, Jeff.
Okay, how'd you happen to get our number?
My wife's brother witnessed a UFO sighting up in Camino Island a while back.
Oh.
And we tried getting information, and they didn't have it, so we called him.
Oh, great.
Ted.
Oh, yes, I remember that report.
But I don't think he said anything about any pale blue lights or anything like that, though. My wife said she thinks it might have been the same type of craft, but I don't know. I never saw the one that Ted saw.
Okay, if we get any further information on this, we'll let you know.
Would you please?
Yes, we will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for calling.